What's up, people? Nick here with another episode of Fanfiction Friday, and today we're actually not going to be reading one of mine, and this is a fanfic by a fanfiction user called Lloyd's Fics, who is a really good at fanfiction writer. I definitely recommend checking him out on fanfiction. This is a Danganronpa fanfic that he wrote called MAKOTO NAEGI'S Execution. For those of you who don't know what Danganronpa is it's kind of difficult for me to describe, but I'd recommend going to check it out before or continuing with this. It's essentially it's a Japanese game. It's a murder mystery game where several high school students are locked into an academy, and they're forced to kill each other, and in order to leave. And if the killer is caught, then they are executed. There's a point in the fifth chapter, I believe, where there is I think the fifth chapter, the main protagonist is framed for a murder and is about to be executed, but is saved at just the last moment. I've actually read this fanfic before, not on air, and this is basically what happens if he doesn't get saved. Anyway, I definitely recommend checking Danganronpa out. It's a great game. It's actually been able to spawn an anime, three anime, 2 sequels, was a spin-off of another upcoming sequel, and 2 stage plays. Anyway, it is really good. I definitely recommend checking it out. I'd actually recommend checking out the anime because it doesn't contain any filler stuff that games himself of where you just walk around and trying to get collectibles. So let's get started with this one. "Alright, time's up," Monokuma yelled. The 6 remaining students were shocked to hear this. They had been cut off before, but still, they managed to pull it off and find the killer for each trial that had happened thus far. The only problem is that none of the students have the slightest clue who could have done this. This was the 5th class trial that was held at that bear's so-called game, and the students had found a body in the flower garden on the 5th floor of the school, and despite the students not even having the slightest clue on who on earth this person was who died, Monokuma made the teens have another class trial to find out who the blackened was. All this time, most of the students were adamant about the fact that it was Kirigiri who was the culprit. The only information they got was on the Monokuma file. The Monokuma file number 5. Victim name Mukuru Ikusaba. Gender female. Height 169 centimeters or 5 foot at 6.5. Weight 44 kilograms or 97 pounds. Oh, that's light. Blood type unknown, likely 0. Cause of death, a knife in the chest, blood still wet when found. There was also some evidence supporting that the victim had died by blunt force trauma at the back of the head. Other than that, they really don't know who did it. Which method was used to kill Mukuro, or how. The students had nothing really to go on, except that the murder happened during the night and in the space between 10 p.m. and 9 a.m. "Wait just a second," Naegi yelled. Then something happened which no one saw coming. "Couldn't Naegi have just planted the evidence under my bed to drive away the suspicion away from himself?" Kirigiri interrupted. Naegi looked at the detective, shocked and confused at what she was this is going on about. What are you saying? Naegi stuttered, dumbfounded. Everyone looked at Naegi as if he was the true culprit, and then, "Okay, kids, let the votes commence," the bear shouted. Naegi could only shout at everyone, trying to prove his innocence. "Damn it wasn't me!" Naegi, his words fall on death's ears as the votes are in. Ding ding ding. Makoto Naegi has been found guilty. No, this whole trial is a setup, Naegi muttered. Naegi was in shock. He looked at everyone's faces. Fukawa was just biting her thumb, looking nervous as always. Asahina and Hagakure looked at their podiums and was wondering if they made the right choice or not. Togumi's expression was the most surprising, saying he was quiet, but grinding his teeth in anger. He obviously knew the Luxor was innocent, but he decided to vote against him anyway, seeing how Kirigiri's theory made some sense. Kirigiri looked at the ground. There was a hint of facial expression which looked as if she was somewhat ashamed of herself. Naegi couldn't believe it. He felt betrayed by the people he called his friends. He broke the silence when he started shouting in anger and desperation. "Are you people out of your minds? We didn't have time to decide. It's a sham. We're being played." You could practically say that his face was going blue. Monokuma could only laugh and spin in a circle on his throne, his childish voice and actions being displayed. "Button, button, who's got the button? Oh yeah, I do! It's punishment time!" Naegi looked in horror when he saw the hammer swinging down on the big red button on Monokuma's throne. Game over. Makoto Naegi has been found guilty, commencing punishment. Naegi was on a school chair and desk and found himself on a conveyor belt leading to what seems to be a large iron block. But the thing is, it was like a trash compactor, so it would crush him when he goes under it. Which he has to do. It's the only way. He could easily just walk off and run the emergency exit, but that would be an impossible task as on the floor. Or, while it looks like he could run, there are traps all over the floor. If he ran, he would die anyway. The other students could only watch as their once friend was about to meet a crushing end. Kirigiri looked as if she had a plan, but was still sweating buckets like the other students. Monokuma was on a cart of some kind with a blackboard, and he was dressed like a teacher. It looked as though he was teaching sex ed to the young man, and as he was going to his inevitable death. Naegi could hear continuous bangs as the iron block hit the floor, knowing that in a few seconds he will be on the receiving end of that banging noise, and will be in a puddle of neon pink blood at the end of it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. In the game and in the anime series and, well, basically every form of media about it, the blood is actually pink, not red. Sorry, I forgot about that part. Oh. Naegi's face went from blue to purple. He felt as if his stomach was churning and he was about to throw up. He finally closed his eyes as he knew he was about to die. Meanwhile, Kirigiri looked as though she had been expecting something to possibly save her friend. She looked at Naegi in the eyes, knowing what would happen, and nothing was going to save him now. Asahina's eyes were tearing up while Hagakure was holding his head and closing his eyes, waiting for it to stop. Fukawa was doing the same thing, and Togumi was looking at what was going to happen to Naegi, but you could still say that he was shaking. And then there was Kirigiri. She looked on as her friend and partner in all of this. She then felt something she had not felt in yet, and that was regret, and her tears were welling up. Naegi looked at his friends one final time, each in the eyes. He saw that they truly cared for him, even Togumi, even if he didn't admit it. Naegi then closed his eyes one final time before crunch. Right there and then, the other students looked and saw the blood spilling out of the gaps where the block had landed on their friend and turned puddle of blood. Kirigiri then did something no one could have expected, and that was fall to her knees and cry her eyes out. Hell, all of them did, except Togumi, who was full of anger, and Fukawa because she passed out. I didn't want this to happen, Kirigiri. Everyone looked at her and were confused, but they didn't take much notice about the details, though. Wow! That was extreme! Monokuma shouted behind the other students. They all just stared at him in shock. Too bad, though, Naegi was such a nice guy. And oh yeah, he wasn't the killer. And I really don't feel like telling you who was the killer, Monokuma said. You could hear the arrogance in his voice. Everyone looked at him. What? Asahina said. Damn it, I knew we couldn't have done it, Togepi said in an angry but quiet tone. Feel bad yet? Well, here's something that you guys would like to hear, and that is you guys are not going to be punished, so don't worry about that. But we're not? Hagakure said. Nope. I'm keeping you alive because all this despair is great, and I want you to live knowing that you have killed one of your friends in cold blood. And the others looked at him in a blank stare. This time, they have truly felt despair. No! Kirigiri shouted. What? Monokuma said. We won't fall for despair. That's not what Naegi wanted. Kirigiri shouted again. She was determined to make sure that Naegi's death was not in vain, and will try to give everyone else hope once more. And that does it. Is it for that one? And definitely one of the darker ones that I've read. Overall, I'd say that was a really good fanfic. Lloyd's Fics is a really good writer on fanfiction. While I will admit there were some spelling mistakes, which was why I stuttered a few times, and tripped over my own words. It's quite a few times as well. It was still good. And I definitely recommend checking him out. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.